What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. Welcome back to the channel. About a year ago, I purchased a vintage collection figure that I knew nothing about. I just thought she looked cool. And that's this one, Dr. Aphra. And since that time, I put together a pretty nice run of not only graded comics, but a lot of her action figures. And we're going to dig into those a little bit later on. But if you don't know who Dr. Aphra is, which a lot of people don't, let me tell you, Disney has big plans for her. So let's get a quick overview of her character, take a look at her appearances in the comics, her toy releases to date, and what the rumors are out there for her future in live-action TV shows.
So for the uninitiated, Doctor Chelli Aphra is described as a criminal archaeologist with an expert knowledge of droids and weapon technologies. She has a particular interest in ancient weapons and Jedi artifacts. StarWars.com describes Aphra as, quote-unquote, morally bankrupt and in over her head. Her selfish demeanor and unpredictability gives her the inherent swagger and snarkiness of Han Solo, but the writers also hint at a sexuality that gives her charm and instant fan appeal. Aphra's ability to think on her feet and come up with clever escape routes definitely reminds readers of a certain smuggler who became a reluctant hero in Star Wars canon. Her occupation, though, reminds fans of another famous Harrison Ford character. The writers have certainly hinted that the combination of Han Solo and Indiana Jones is a good comparison. Sticking with the Indiana Jones theme, I would argue that Dr. Aphra is more like a combination of the charm and quick thinking of Indiana Jones with the morality and selfishness of Renee Belloc from The Raiders of the Lost Ark. She was originally designed to be a foil of sorts to Darth Vader, something that we will look at in more detail in her comic book appearances.
So now that you have a brief overview of who Dr. Aphra is, I think it's important to take a look at her comic release history before we dig into the toys. So let's do that now.
Dr. Aphra made her first comic appearance in Darth Vader issue number 3 that was released in May of 2015. She was the creation of writer Kieran Gillen, and he also was the co-writer on the comic series until 2018. He has stated in past interviews that he was completely blown away by fan reception to the character. Dr. Aphra's relationship with Darth Vader in these early comic entries is pretty interesting. She goes from working for Darth Vader to more or less trying to double-cross him, with the expected results of trying to mess with the Sith Lord. In this issue, we also get the first appearance of Aphra's two droids, 000 and BT-1. This first appearance comic had 4 different printings, with a different background color for each printing, as you can see in this slide.
So here is In Darkness to avoid the glare, because graded comics are really difficult to film. This is the first appearance of Dr. Aphra. She appeared in Darth Vader number 3, and I am a crazy person. I did decide to go ahead and pick this one up. I just fell in love with the cover, and here she is. So again, this came out in May of 2015, Darth Vader number 3. First appearance of Doctor Chelli Aphra, 000 and BT-1. And again, there's Kieran Gillen is the story, Salvador Larroca the art, and Eddie Granoff the cover. So what a beautiful example. 9.8 graded by CGC. So I'm trying really, really hard to not spend a ton of money on comics because the market is just so frothy, as we've talked about in my market bubble video. But this is one that I just decided I had to add to the collection, and it's a beautiful cover. And this is the first printing. Again, you know, they've had multiple printings of this, but this is kind of the dark purplish cover to it. The back is just the standard for that time period with the Black Series figures. And now this is the Eddie Granoff cover, and while it's still pretty pricey, there was a dip in prices here recently, just probably because of a lack of news, and so that dropped the price down. But there is a much more expensive variant that we are going to talk about right now, and that's the 1:25 ratio version with the cover by Salvador Larroca. And 1:25, that just means that for every 25 like this, there was one of the Salvador Larroca version that was distributed to different comic retailers. So let's take a look at that now.
As I mentioned previously, the Larroca variant for Darth Vader issue number 3 is one of the big money modern Star Wars comics being exchanged on the secondary market these days. As rumors of a live-action TV series trickle out, the price fluctuations for the LaRocca version can be pretty insane. As you can see with sold eBay listings dating back to December, the price swings are eye-popping based on news, or lack thereof. From December to February, prices jumped by almost 40%, but then dropped by about 30% a month later as new information and rumors of her TV show cooled off. To me, the massive price swings in the LaRocca variant are sort of indicative of the current state of the modern comic market overall. The risks of buying any of these big money modern key comics are pretty substantial. New rumors on Disney Plus shows can send the prices soaring or tumbling very quickly. We will talk more about the live-action show rumors later on in this video. In December 2016, Marvel released Dr. Aphra in her own comic series. It was an immediate hit with comic book fans, reaching as high as number 2 on the sales chart. For a completely new character to sell that well is fairly shocking in the comic book world. Her character is very well suited for getting into lots of different adventures involving ancient artifacts, expensive cargo, or other important items wanted by both friend and foe alike. This gives Dr. Aphra the opportunity to be in and around other more well-known characters within the Star Wars universe. I do have 2 graded issues from Volume 2 that were released in 2020. So let's take a quick look at those now.
And here are issues 1 and 2 from Volume 2 of Dr. Aphra. So this is issue number 1. This is the most common cover. There are variants out there for it, but a pretty cool cover. This is also graded 9.8. And if I hadn't mentioned it before, after Kieran Gillen left the series, Alyssa Wong, who was also, I believe, a co-creator, she kind of took over as the main story writer for Dr. Aphra. So issue number 1 came out in June of 2020. 9.8 white pages. I don't have a lot of graded comics, but this one was really cool and fairly inexpensive. Right now, you know, these Volume 2 issue 1s are not that difficult to find, but I thought it'd be kind of a cool addition. And so there we are. Let me see if we can get it to focus better so we can get a better close-up of the cover. Really, really nice, though. And there's that. And then the back has just got a advertisement here for advertisement. There it is. So pretty cool. And then the only other one I have related to Dr. Aphra is this one. This is the start of the Rings of Vale series. It's like an ongoing story, and that started with issue number 2, and here this is. It's 9.8. Again, Alyssa Wong is the writer, and this is the Reminar cover. So really cool. I think there are some incentive variants of this one as well, but kind of a cool cover. It reminds me a little bit of the Well of Souls from Indiana Jones. So kind of going back to the archaeologist kind of occupation that Dr. Aphra has. So pretty cool. And again, the same advertisement on the back. So that is it for my graded Dr. Aphra comics.
One of the interesting notes on Aphra's backstory is her sexuality. In her early appearances in the Vader comics, the writers never really explicitly show a male love interest, although some of the dialogue between Aphra and Vader can almost be viewed as a sort of flirting. The dialogue between the two of them is very clever. But as the writers expanded on Aphra's backstory in her own comic series, her sexuality is explored with one love interest, a female Imperial officer named Magna Tolvan. Without giving too much of these storylines away, the romance is complicated yet very well executed. We will talk more about Aphra's fit with Marvel and Disney's diversity initiatives a little bit later on. But in my opinion, the way the writers chose to hint at Aphra's sexuality was very well done and doesn't interfere with the broader story scopes within the comics. After the successful launch of Dr. Aphra's own comic in May of 2020, a 5-hour audiobook was released in July that acts as an expanded comic adaptation. The audiobook features a full cast of actors and is available anywhere audiobooks are sold. Being the huge nerd that I am, I purchased it for about $20 on Amazon, and I thought it was very well done. My biggest takeaway from listening to it is that the writers do a great job of making Dr. Aphra likable and clever while still showing some negative qualities like selfishness and questionable ethics. Her morality easily falls within the gray area like we already discussed, but it works well and avoids the pitfalls of making her too perfect. She is very much the anti-hero, and the audiobook really left me wanting to see a live-action depiction, which we will discuss later on in this video. So now that we have covered Dr. Aphra's backstory and comic book history, let's take a look at the real reason you're probably watching this video, and that's the toys. In 2017, Hasbro announced that Dr. Aphra was the winner of the Fans' Choice vote for the Vintage Collection. Many collectors were a little bit skeptical that Aphra actually won this vote, since there were several other figures in the contest that people have been wanting. Nevertheless, Hasbro promised a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive version of Dr. Aphra, and they came through in a big way in July of 2018 with a special action figure 3-pack featuring Dr. Aphra and her 2 droids. Dr. Aphra then received her own TVC carded release in September of 2018. I have both of these Vintage Collection Dr. Aphra releases graded by Collector Archive, so let's take a closer look at them now.
So here are the 2 Dr. Aphra Vintage Collection releases, and we're going to take it in order of release. This is the special action figure set that came out in the 2018 for the San Diego Comic-Con. It was an exclusive. What an awesome item. It's got the foil racetrack. This special action figure set was the first one released by Hasbro in a number of years, so it kind of ushered in the new wave of those special action figure sets. The following year, they released the Luke Skywalker Jedi Destiny set at San Diego Comic-Con, and then last year, obviously, was a Hasbro Pulse exclusive, the 501st ARC Trooper set. That one obviously is really gone up a lot in value, but this one is actually still pretty affordable now. And so if you have any interest in Dr. Aphra, I would recommend picking this up pretty quickly, because you can still find a near mint example of one of these for, ungraded for $50 or so. And that's about what I paid for this one. But what an awesome set. Look at the 2 droids there, BT-1 and 000. Her kind of quote-unquote murder droids. They have a pretty active role in the comics, and they did a great job with the sculpts. I feel like 000 suffers from the same issue that the C-3PO reissue does. It's a little bit too small, and I wish they had kind of added a little bit of shininess to it. But this one makes a little more sense since he's kind of a matte black finish. But really nice set. The highlight is obviously on the back for these newer releases and I'm sorry about the glare, but it's really hard to film these, the artwork on the back, but look how great that looks. And if you have any interest in reading the back of this special action figure set, you can pause it now to take a look. But they did a great job with this set. And like I said, I think that this is going to, if Dr. Aphra does make a broader appearance within the Star Wars universe, which we'll go over a little bit later on, I think that this set, since it was the first release, will probably start seeing some price jumps. And maybe I'm wrong, but it's still pretty affordable. As is this one. This is the first one I ever picked up. Like I said, I didn't really know much about Dr. Aphra when I picked this up. I just thought she looked pretty cool. It's got a great card art there. You can see the droids in the background there. And just an awesome item. Her helmet and goggles do not come off, but it's a really nice sculpt. And the one complaint that a lot of fans have mentioned is that this is on a Star Wars card back. And given her time frame, at least within the comics, that might change with Disney, but at least within the comics, her appearances really take place post Battle of Hoth. And so the most logical card back would have been an expanded universe card, but Hasbro, I think, has gone on record saying they're not going to do any more expanded universe card backs for the Vintage Collection. So if they didn't go expanded universe, it would have made more sense probably to put Empire Strikes Back, but whatever, it's not a big deal. She is number VC-129 in the line, and you can see some of the other figures that were released around there, but this was graded, the special action figure set was graded 90, and this one was graded 95. So this was, I believe, a Big Bad Toy Store collector grade item. Card got a 90. Card got a 90. The blister got a 95. Figure got a 95. So a really beautiful item. Now, these are the Vintage Collection items. She also did have a Black Series release. So let's talk more about that right now.
The other major toy release for Dr. Aphra is the 2018 Black Series 6-inch in the black and red style box. Her Black Series figure was apparently not produced in very large numbers, making this figure somewhat difficult to find at a reasonable price. As you can see by these sold listings on eBay, the Black Series Dr. Aphra is very expensive on the secondary market. I do have a really cool custom display with this figure that we're going to take a closer look at right now.
So here is my custom that just got back about a week or two ago from Collector Archive Services, and what an awesome item. It's the first time I finally had a chance to show it to you guys. I'm sorry about the glare. It's just got a massive case, as you can see. So what I did was I purchased a near mint example of the black and red box Dr. Aphra. She's number 87 in the line. And I had it custom encased with a German edition of the first print comic. So it's a really cool kind of custom item that I had them do, and they did a really good job with it. Let's get a little close-up here of the Black Series. But this one, unlike the Vintage Collection, her helmet does come off, and she's got the pistol laid out there, but a really nice sculpt. And, you know, the face, in my opinion, is a little wider than a lot of her comic book appearances. Even in her first appearance comic, you can see it's more of an Asian look to her face, thinner in the face, whereas in the figure it's more of a rounded face. So in my opinion, the face sculpt on this one is not as good as the Vintage Collection face sculpt, but the rest of the figure is just awesome. You can see her artwork there, Dr. Aphra. But the highlight is that I added the first print German edition of the comic, and look how great that looks. It's probably a 9.4, 9.6 grade quality comic, but it looks awesome. And here is the back. The back is great. It's got all of this German writing on the back, and I'm going to try and get a little more clarity here. Let's see. There we go. Journey to Das Arschwin der Macht. And so it's got some other comic covers there, all in German. But how cool does that look to have the German edition? There's also a Spanish edition of the first print. There's also a reprint that is a Halloween Comic Fest. That's the first print, and then the other ones that we've already talked about. And then here is the back of the Black Series. Again, she's number 87. And, you know, I thought it was, I don't know what possessed me to put the two of these together, but I thought because the Black Series is known for having all these different languages, I thought it would be cool to have a different language edition for the first print comic. I got this idea from Collector Archive because someone had submitted the SDCC set with the first print US version of the comic, and I just thought it'd be kind of cool to have everything together. So again, I'm sorry about the glare. The lighting is not great, but what an awesome item. Now that we've looked at my Vintage Collection and Black Series figures, let's talk more about the rumors that are out there regarding a potential Disney Plus appearance.
Credits and Canon had an interesting article about Dr. Aphra a few months ago that explored her backstory and how Disney and Lucasfilm are taking a more deliberate approach to releasing new Aphra content. As we've already seen, she's pretty well represented in the comics and with toy releases, but a live-action appearance is still in the rumor stages at this point. Given the skyrocketing prices for her first appearance comic books, the collecting market seems to agree that a live-action appearance is inevitable. So let's take a closer look at some of the rumors that are out there, as well as other speculation. I will include a link to this article as well as the others that we are about to discuss in the description to this video. In late 2019, articles started talking about a show appearance, including this article by Ben Pearson. Based on his discussions with unnamed sources, filming for a Dr. Aphra spin-off series has not only already been approved, but may currently be in production. Given the scope of resources and people that would need to be involved for a Disney Star Wars television show, on the surface it would seem unlikely that production has already begun without more information being leaked. But Jason Ward, who has a reliable track record of breaking news about Star Wars-related show content, insists that a joint venture between Marvel and Lucasfilm is already in process. Whether this means the actual production of content has begun or that the show is still in the pre-production stages isn't clear, but I would lean towards the latter. Given the huge number of new Star Wars shows that are coming this year and next to Disney+, one could speculate that a late 2022 Aphra Show is probably the earliest that we will see a series. Her anti-hero personality appeals directly to core 1980s fans that loved Han Solo, Indiana Jones, Boba Fett, and similar characters with morals that fall in the gray area. Dr. Aphra also fits in nicely with Marvel and Disney's desire to add more diversity to the Star Wars universe, as I talked about in a recent video. Small Screen also posted an article in November of last year that gave a little more clarity on the timing of a potential Dr. Aphra show. The article's sources hinted that the show would premiere after the debut of the Kenobi series, but before the Cassian Andor show. With the recent teaser press release of the actors that have signed on for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, Star Wars fans are already trying to guess whether Dr. Aphra will make an appearance in the show and who will portray her. What confuses me about the Kenobi appearance speculation is the timeline within the Star Wars canon. Most of Aphra's comic book adventures take place after the Battle of Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back, so I'm not sure how she would fit in within the Kenobi series, since Obi-Wan was obviously dead by then within the Star Wars canon. But that hasn't stopped fans from taking guesses at who will play Dr. Aphra. The most consistent choice based on the press release photo of the Kenobi cast is Simone Kessel. She certainly bears a resemblance to Dr. Aphra, and the actress has a history of working within the fantasy and sci-fi genres, including some movies and TV series that demanded a lot of stunt work.
I hope that you guys have enjoyed this character profile on Dr. Aphra. I think that she's going to be an important character moving forward within the Star Wars universe, and I'm glad that I've picked up a number of her items now, because if she experiences any sort of popularity with fans and makes that crossover into the mainstream pop culture, similar to what The Mandalorian experienced over the last 2 years, I think that we could see a pretty big uptick, especially in her vintage collection items, which are still relatively affordable. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe for future content. I look forward to being back soon, and thank you again for watching.